Hello, my name is Isaiah Zip, and I am going to show you how to both install and use Zoom meetings. As A&M has switched to online-only classes, I figured now would be a good opportunity to explain how to use this popular video teleconferencing application. Now, I personally know that Dr. Lake for CSCE 221 is planning on using this application. As one of her undergraduate teaching assistants, I figured it would be good to have this video ready to explain how to use it, since I know that most students have not used this application. Now, to begin, let's get Zoom. So open up your favorite browser and type in this address, tamu.zoom.us, tamu.zoom.us. Hit enter, and you will be sent to the Zoom page. Obviously, if you click join a meeting or host a meeting, those big buttons, those will probably still try to look for the application. Um, there might also be a browser service. I personally have never used them, so I'm not going to go over them. So we're going to go ahead and download Zoom. We want to download the Zoom client for meetings. Go ahead and hit download. That will install, or rather download the installer. While that's finishing up, one thing I'll mention is that there is a mobile application for Zoom that you can get on your phone. Say you want to use your computer for something else, or you're away from your computer and you want to be able to still patch into the lectures, you can use the app. Keep in mind that it will eat up data because it is still a video application. Keep that in mind. However, in a pinch, it is handy. Now then, with the installer ready, let's go and run it. Thankfully, with Zoom, you do not have to go through any hoops because it simply installs everything for you. The idea with Zoom being that the instructor will make a meeting that all the students who want to join will join, and then the instructor will then share the slides with the students, and through that you'll sort of simulate an actual lecture. Now, with Zoom installed, you'll see this screen. You could join a meeting, however, that would cause problems with being able to identify who is who. So we want to sign in, and specifically want to sign in with SSO, or single sign-on online. Because, of course, A&M has their own service, has their own licensing with Zoom. Now, for our company domain, just type TAMU, and notice that this combined with this is the same address we used to grab Zoom in the first place. So we hit continue, and we will be prompted to enter in our NetID and password via the authentication service, same as the one used for everything TAMU related. They get a duo push if you have that. They get another prompt to open up Zoom meetings. Click on that. From there, we will then get this fancy interface. Up there in the corner, we can see that there's my name, there's my email address, and I'm in fact a licensed user under A&M's policies. Now, from here, you have 4 main buttons. You can schedule a meeting, which would work similar to how you can schedule most anything else in an application, to send off emails to those people who you have invited. Say you want to talk with some students and you don't have their phone number, this is one option to do. So you can simply schedule a video call with their TAMU email addresses. That will send off a meeting link, which they can then join. Alternatively, you can share your screen with other meetings, which does make a whole lot of sense considering you're not actually in the meeting yet, but whatever, it's cool. Main one you'll be using, of course, is the join button. So if you click that, you will be prompted to enter in your meeting ID as well as your personal link name. So what you'll get is you'll get either a TAMU, you'll either get a browser link, which will go through your browser and attempt to open Zoom meetings. you should also get a meeting ID, which you can then use to connect using that number. So if we just type in a bunch of gibberish into here, clearly it's it's going to be similar to a standard phone number. However, of course, the meeting ID is going to be unique to that particular meeting. Okay. So then you would go ahead and hit join, and you would be able to join that particular meeting. Obviously, since this meeting does not exist, I cannot join it, but that's how you would do it. You can also specify whether or not you want to connect to audio, whether or not you want to turn off your video when you come in. If you do have a webcam integrated into your laptop or desktop, Zoom will be able to recognize it and will attempt to use it. Keep that in mind. If you don't really want to have everyone see your lovely face, you can disable that feature. Okay? Now, obviously, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do to simulate it is we're going to go ahead and make our own new meeting. Every single person that is on Zoom has their own unique meeting ID, which they can utilize to make their own sort of almost like a private message or direct message. So if we click this, hello, we'll then be prompted to join with our computer audio. We go ahead and click that. As you can see over here in the corner, the microphone is now active as I am in fact talking. Okay, now from here, this is of course not what you would see. There would be a lot of individual boxes for each student as well as the professor, who would probably be sharing their screen. Now, say you want to chat with your fellow students, okay, but without interrupting the professor. What you can do is there is a handy chat feature which will pop out to the side where you can type in whatever you want, and it will be sent to everyone by default. And if there were other people in this meeting, you could send them individual messages. Close that. You can also go ahead and share your screen. Obviously, you as students would not be doing this, but for professors, you can, of course, share some screen. Of course, I don't have a whole lot of applications open. So go ahead and click on the whiteboard, hit share. It'll pop up a standard whiteboard, which you can then utilize if you so desire. Okay, so that being sort of almost like the air hub in the room. We'll go and stop that. All right, so I cannot simulate it, but you would be able to do this, promise. So you can't really do it as the host, but if you are a participant, you will be able to raise your hand. There's an option to raise your hand somewhere. I can't remember where it is off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's in Manage Participants, or the Participants like option. Anyway, with that, you can indicate to the host that you have a question, but respectful of the time. So similar to how you might do so in a normal classroom setting. What I personally recommend whenever you are in the meeting, whenever the professor is lecturing, is I suggest you self-mute yourself so that you don't interrupt the professor. I suggest instead using the chat feature, perhaps to interact with the other students. Whoopsie. But anyway, at this point I'm just clicking random things. But anyway, so I would suggest that, such that whenever the professor calls on you, you can then go ahead and unmute yourself, give your question, and then remute yourself when you are done. That'd be what I would suggest. Once you are done, you can go ahead and leave the meeting. You can Of course, since I'm the host, ask me if I want to end the meeting for all. But anyway, so that being generally how meetings will go. The professor should send out a email before the lecture, giving you a meeting ID. It is also possible to have a persistent meeting to where it has the same ID every single time. That is possible. So the idea being that if the professor has set that up, then you would simply connect to that meeting ID, assuming the professor is already there. Now, one fancy thing is you can actually join a meeting before the host does. So that would be the case where, say, the professor's running a little bit late, but you know that the meeting is there, so you can go and join it beforehand. But anyway, so again, just common things, common tips. Simply be respectful of the professor. Don't share your screen, etc. If you're not the professor, etc. Raise your hand when you have a question. If you want to interact with other students, use the inbuilt chat feature. And yeah, so hopefully with that, that's enough to sort of get you guys started. And hopefully this will all end up working out. Thank you for watching. Hopefully that was helpful in some way. And with that, I'm going to sign off.